This is the work we have done. There were 4 packages: a technical part, a legal part, an economical part, and a communication part. You see the partners involved in the project, and today we will present the main results. It will be done by the experts who were partners in the project. So first of all, I give the word to Aislinn Dulster of the University of Ghent, who will present the results of the technical modeling. Please, Aislinn, take the screen.
So welcome all. Thank you for your for being live here with us. I'm going to start the presentation on the results of working package 1 that focuses on the technical side of how to get the electricity produced by the offshore wind farms to the households, how to do this how to get the electricity profiles balanced, and how to translate this into sustainable pricing formulas. Oh, yes, okay. The work package is focusing on the challenges and the risks of managing this offshore wind production as a cooperative business. We had 3 tasks in our work package in which we focused on the technical and technical aspects of the PPA and how to get these to the households, as well as the balancing aspect and the potential effects of setting up our own BRP as a cooperative supplier. I'm going to take first a look at task 1.1 with you, where we studied the PPA structure. Because even though it might sound like quite simple, Sea2Socket, part of a consortium, and well, let's hope we will be part of the winning consortium. And then the idea would be to buy the electricity and sell it to our clients. Actually, there is more steps in the structure, as the consortium is actually selling electricity to Sea2Socket. Sea2Socket would then have to sell the electricity to the cooperative suppliers, and the cooperative suppliers in turn should sell the electricity to their clients. This means that there is these different steps mean that there is a different cash flows that could be split between different parties, as well as risks that come with it. And so there has first been an exercise where we identified all of these risks, and where we try to evaluate who could and should bear those, and that is then discussed in task 2. As you see, we set up a proposal structure for the PPA to get it clear in a clear flow chart for everyone around the table, of all the different parties involved in the process, and where the electricity is actually really going, but also where the contracts are happening, and which form this electricity has, the form by which I mean, is it base load, or is it as produced, or is it as consumed? So this helps us, this flowchart helps us identify the balancing and the profiling costs of and seeing where these are created between the different parties. First, when a wind consortium produces electricity, that electricity has the profile of the wind farm's production, and that means that it's not stable hour per hour, but it's increases and decreases every moment. And the difference between this and then the base load profile, where every hour has an equal amount of production, that difference results in a profiling cost of the offshore wind. Then a next cost is the balancing cost, because not only does the wind profile vary every hour, it also differs from the forecasted wind profile. And thus, the BRP, the balancing responsible party, is supposed to make an estimation that is as good as possible. But of course, there will always be a difference between the real production and the estimated forecasted production, and therefore there is also a balancing cost to be paid on this wind profile. Third, there is a difference also between the base load or even the expected consumption of the consumers, and then the real consumption of the consumers, as well as in their balancing. So the profile might differ, but also the estimation and the realized profiles, load profiles differ, and therefore there is also profiling and a balancing cost on the last step of the chain at the consumer side. This was the 4 different types of costs, and so also like in our flowcharts, looking where do these take place. Then in task 1.2, we created a cooperative PPA simulation model to see, okay, where do these risks lead us, as in the worst case scenario, and this is the most important, we would like the best case scenario, but the worst case scenario is most important, as Christophe will definitely also mention in the bankability model. So this worst, in the worst case scenario, which risks do we see as a cooperative business? In our business case, what happens when prices increase, when the balancing costs increase, when the profiling costs increase, etc. Therefore, we used historic data from 2019 to 2024, updated until the last months available. Every time we can extend this database, as it's all publicly available data. And why we started 2019? Because we want to have a representative wind production case in our model, as the offshore wind capacity has been stable since 2019. And therefore, we also have a low price scenario with 2020, a high price scenario with 2022, and then mid or more stable price scenarios with the years in between and after, and therefore we can say that we have like all different kinds of variations included in our model for as far as representative for the Belgian market. We include production data, wind offshore, but also solar on the rooftops of clients. We also included all the different prices that have to be all the different prices of all the costs that have to be paid, but also the load profiles of the clients. The load profiles of the clients, for that we did not only include the Synergrid published real load profile, but we also constructed 2 synthetic load profiles to make one new mixed load profile, to make sure that if we want to be electrification or energy transition proof, that we would be able to shift the load profile mix throughout the year. So we always use 100% load profile mix, but in the first in the model we created two new load profiles, of which one is a heat pump consumer load profile, and one is a heat pump consumer load profile that also has a dynamic tariff to which it responds, to see that actually when we increase the share of the population that would respond to a dynamic tariff, what would happen with our risks. Because we know that today's Synergrid load profile is good for today's situation, but might not be representative for the 2035 case, for instance. And therefore, we constructed this new mix. All these different parameters actually give us the possibility to create an infinite number of scenarios, and all these variations give us a better insight in the different cash flows. Therefore, we create for ourselves a better insight in the financial sustainability of the cooperative PPA model. We look at different costs. This is a visualization. I say devisualization, but as I said, there is an infinite number of scenarios possible with this model, which means that this is only one, well, here in this case, three different outcomes. What if we invest a different number of megawatts? What if we have a different number of clients? What if we have a different mix of load profiles? What if we have a different strike price? All of these elements impact the results in our model. And we have a graphic results shown in our outputs, but also tables that allow us to compare numbers month by month, year by year. First, we see results for the spot market. Our model is also giving us information on imbalance wind cost and imbalance cost of the clients. Here in this graph, we see the sum of both of different scenarios. Actually, the only parameter that is varying between those three scenarios shown here, so scenario 0, 1, and 2, is the number of megawatts invested in the PEZ zone. So there is only one parameter, sorry, that's changing, and already we see quite some variations. Also in the price to be paid to the consortium. So these are the main results in the model, in the visual part of the model. Next to that, we also created an extra element in our model where we did not only create scenario outcomes for the costs, but also for the possible incomes. Because of course, we as a cooperative supplier also need to set a cooperative pricing formula for our clients. And due to the fact that we would be selling offshore wind from the PEZ production, we would have to not only comply to the standards pricing criteria as mentioned in the Royal Decree of 2012, we would also have to comply with our pricing formula to the criteria as mentioned in the Royal Decree tender, and still be true to the cooperative values, which means that we are not setting a price to maximize our profits, but to set a fair price to the cooperative clients who take their energy, who buy their electricity, from the cooperative suppliers. In this exercise that we constructed, we try to minimize the risk for both suppliers and consumers, because we don't want a supplier going into default, but we also do not want consumers facing enormous bills at times of increasing market prices. Third task that we took up was more looking into what it means to balance this offshore renewable energy, and we more specifically looked into what it would mean to set up our own cooperative offshore balancing responsible party. As already mentioned, so a BRP has to get the profiling and the balancing of the offshore energy right, but also has, but these are only two elements of an extensive set of obligations of the BRP. It is a regulated function, so there is also financial guarantees to be paid and other requirements to be met. To set up BRP, well, we looked into more detail of the following 6 steps. I'm not going to go through all of them with you, but they're here in the slides. We will, of course, share these slides with you afterwards. So also do not hesitate to ask for more detail in case you might have, to ask for more detail in case you'd have any questions about this. So we have like we used the results from task 1.2 to look into the extreme price scenario risks that the BRP might face in case of market fluctuations. These are mainly impacted by the balancing costs, and although the BRP might bill those, of course, to the C-Coop or cooperative suppliers, it's still part of our business or of our total business case and should thus not be forgotten. We have to take them into account at all times. The results of the outcomes of the 3 tasks learners, well, they give us insights in a few key elements. We see that actually extreme price scenarios, thanks to the strike price as being part of the pricing formula, will help consumers, will help protect consumers' bills, but might still severely affect the suppliers, the cooperative suppliers' cash position. So this is one element that we definitely need to take into account when building a pricing formula. But good news, setting then a smart tariff that gives incentives to consumers to match their consumption with offshore production also reduces the risk for suppliers on top of the benefit that it also already gives to consumers by reducing their electricity bill. We will, of course, have to wait to make a full evaluation of the business model until we know the strike price, because the difference between the strike price and the market price will, of course, have an impact on our business case too. And further steps will still be internal decision making on who carries which risks. Thank you. I hope this was clear so far, and I think at the end of the presentation we'll then cover Q&A, but I'll stop sharing my screen here.
Thank you very much, Aislinn, for the technical part explanation. For the economical part, I invite Christophe Lagermond from Econopolis Strategy to share the screen.
Econopolis Strategy. So we did actually, we covered the financial economic part of this project. Maybe a brief introduction, because I don't think that everyone will know what Econopolis Strategy does or what the role is in this kind of project. We're actually an economic advisory company that delivers advice to many different types of parties, so energy, but also recently to the Einstein Telescope and projects like this. And I included Ortelius because that's the new name of this company that was involved in this. I will give a brief overview of what we did in this project. The research questions. I hope that you see the next slide, Fabrice. Can you confirm that?
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. So what we did is actually, there is a cooperative PPA involved, a new financial instrument, let's say, or variant on current PPAs that are available. We investigated if it's bankable, first of all, and we also checked, like Aislinn already mentioned it, but what the financial impact is of an offshore wind participation on the main energy cooperative players, Cossitaire, EcoPower, in the Flemish and Walloon region. So that was the scope for us. Now, I think many people will be familiar with the tender principles. I think the main tender principles that are relevant for us in this research was, of course, a citizens' participation, the fact that the procedure will promote citizen participation in selection criteria and the pre-qualification criteria. Secondly, there is like a two-sided contract for difference regime, which is, of course, the price stabilization mechanism with a carve-out. And the carve-out is relevant for this story because it provides the opportunity to sell energy under a PPA regime. And then the third relevant instrument, let's say, or principle, is the fallback option under two-sided CFD. So what does that mean? That means that you actually you can reverse one time to from a PPA regime back to the two-sided contracts for different systems. So these are three relevant items that will come back later. And maybe also a bit of setting the scene on what the role, how the energy cooperative landscape look like in Belgium, because that's also have an impact on later results. So what you see in the Flemish region is that you have RESCOOPs, renewable energy cooperatives, and we make a distinction between EcoPower and other RESCOOPs. And it means that the green arrow refers to capital. So the capital of the cooperative capital is collected by EcoPower and the other RESCOOPs, so all the Flemish RESCOOPs. They also hold energy assets, but EcoPower is the only party in Flanders that holds a license to deliver electricity. So that's an important item in this study. For the Walloon region, it's slightly different. The only difference is actually that mostly all the assets are owned by the other RESCOOPs, let's say, except Cossitaire. So they have all the cooperants have a stake in the Walloon corporation, and Cossitaire is actually the one that delivers the electricity. So it's actually EcoPower and Cossitaire that are relevant in this study because especially in this study, in the co-PPA story, because they will deliver the electricity from Sea2Socket to cooperants. This is interesting slide because it provides the assumptions that we used. So what you see on the left side, of course, the corporates have a dual role. They can be shareholders, but also clients. So left refers to the capital story. So we assume that 20% of the special purpose vehicle that holds the offshore wind assets will be financed by equity. And of this 20%, 20% will be held by C Corp. And this capital, of course, should be collected by the corporations and by citizens, of course, then. On the right-hand side, you see corporates as clients, so the energy delivery, let's say. And then you see 20% of the wind, offshore wind, will be purchased by C Corp via the cooperative PPA, the co-PPA. So that's where this instruments come into play. And then the energy will be supplied by the corporations and eventually by to the citizens by energy contracts. Of course, these are assumptions and we can change it in the model. I think that you will see it as well in the remaining part of this presentation. The important point is that we have a first model and in which you can tweak all these assumptions. But this was what we used for our research. Now, the first question is the co-PPA bankable? As we see, the carve-out is possible. So that's the first thing to allow for the existence of the co-PPA. Secondly, the tender principles allow an add-on of €3 per megawatt hour compared to the two-sided contracts for difference. And the third point is, there, as I mentioned already, there is a fallback option that has been built in there. So the one-time option to reverse to the two-sided regime, CFD regime again. Now, what we found, and in the slides that will be published, it will be more explanation. But the key or the clue is actually that the fallback option is the most relevant instrument, let's say, for the bankability of the co-PPA, because from the perspective of the special purpose vehicle, from the consortium, the revenues from the co-PPA are guaranteed by the government, because you can go back to CFD regime. On the other hand, from the perspective of the citizen cooperatives like EcoPower and Cositer as well, it is a huge financial guarantee because they always have the option to go back if it goes wrong, let's say. And then the analysis doesn't stop there. So the co-PPA is bankable given that there is a fallback option, but it's not per se desired because first of all, there is a residual risk of €3 per megawatt hour because that's a surplus you can ask in a PPA regime that you will lose if you revert back to a CFD regime. So there is still residual risk, not a lot, but there is. And secondly, of course, the energy cooperatives have the desire to not utilize this option, so they have incentive to not exercise it, as they want to offer stable consumer prices in this PPA regime. So the new question is actually how long the cash position of EcoPower and Cositer can sustain an unfavorable scenario of low electricity prices without exercising the fallback option. It's a long question, but I'll give a bit more context in this slide. So what does this actually mean? What happens if you remember the model that I showed, the structure, is that C Corp will buy electricity against a fixed purchase price from the consortium, from the SPV. They will actually sell it to EcoPower and Cositer, for example, for a fixed price, who will in turn sell it to their customers. And what of course the risk is that on the one hand, EcoPower and Cositer faces fixed liability every year because they must purchase the electricity against a fixed price. So they have a fixed liability, but their revenues, on the revenue side, they have uncertainty because you have the consumers can always any minute can change supplier. So in what scenario is this interesting or dangerous, let's say, risky? Is when the prices, the Belbex is very low, and sustainably low, let's say, because then in that case they face the risk to be more expensive, to have higher prices than competitors that, for example, use variable prices during these periods of low electricity prices. So that's a risk that they lose customers during these periods, leading to a scenario where they have purchased volumes, they have to purchase at a fixed price and they have to sell it at lower market prices. So that's resulting in a loss indeed. So what we did in the research is that we checked, okay, what if we have different power price scenarios from high to low, and they persist for a number of years. What will be the profit or loss in each scenario for EcoPower and Colciter, and when will their current cash reserves be burned, let's say? So how long can they continue before they will actually exercise this fallback option? That was actually in the very high level, the methodology of what we did. For the price scenarios, we used the ELIA scenarios from study in 2023, which you can see here. So we used 4 scenarios ranging from 44 euros per megawatt hour to 150 euros per megawatt hour. We also linked that to the research of Aislinn and Krise of the profiling and balancing costs. So we used that as well. And what we actually did then is to see in each scenario what is the relative retail price difference between EcoPower and Colciter and a hypothetical supplier that offers variable prices. And based on that, we assumed a client loss parameter that assumed that there would be client losses in the low price scenario in which they are not competitive. The results for the EcoPower is that in the low gas CO2 prices scenario, is that would be 20% client loss. That's an assumption. That's something that can be changed in the future in the model, but we calculated that the loss per year would be 1.6 million euros, given the assumptions that we used. And given that, and given the current cash reserve, after 6 years, all the current liquid asset base would be burned, let's say, and they will exercise the fallback option. And for Colciter, a similar analysis was done, and there it was 8.5 years. But with the critical remark that the cash reserve was very high in 2022. So in other years before that, it would be only 2 years. Now, I don't think it's the whole analysis you can find will be published, because there were sensitivity analyses and we changed the parameters to see what the effect is. So it's a bit more elaborate and nuanced, but I think as well, it's very important that these losses and profits are mapped on the current cash reserves. So of course, and that's what this slide is about. You face increased risk, so you also these organizations will also adapt to a situation in which they will be exposed to new risks. And of course, the first thing that makes sense is actually that you have higher cash or liquid buffers that scale with the activity level. That's the primary instrument. Secondly, we didn't include debt financing to bridge financially difficult periods. Thirdly, and that's actually relates to the first point, is that you can also, of course, use the dividends to create a buffer fund and to bridge difficult periods for the cooperatives. Another point is, if you have increased risks in your model, or a high risk premium imposed by the cooperatives is economically justified in this case. And of course, the client losses, what we also see my colleagues saw in literature is that will not immediately react on small price discrepancies, because there is, of course, there need to be economic benefits, but moreover, there is a psychological lock-in that you will not change your supplier like anytime. And the second point is also that we see that the current client base tends to be more loyal than the average for the cooperative, so which helps that the current clients are not purely price driven. So I think this is very high level what we did in this research. I think the most important part is because there were a lot of assumptions being made, and the most important part is that there is a high level model in which you can now input the parameters and refine it more to have a good first insight into the risks of let's say the whole chain this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Christophe, for commenting the economical part. So now I want to give the word for the communication part and the interaction with the public and the households to Fabrice Collignon, the RESCO Wallonie. Please, Fabrice, take the screen.
Thank you. So we have conducted several studies into the Work Package 3 and Work Package 4, and we have done it together with University of Mons, Jos World, RESCO Vlaanderen, and RESCO Wallonie were involved in this package, in those packages. So firstly, with the Work Package 3, the market study, which was carried out through University of Mons, UMons. The goal was to understand the current potential consumer insight about investment in energy comparative and, of course, in offshore energy. To organize this survey, we first get to our cooperative, then to current investors. So I mean by that cooperants already involved in our RESCO cooperative, and then to potential investors. So we both addressed and involved general population into this survey. We studied their motivation factor, how well they can understand the Sea2Socket project, so the linked to from offshore wind parks to their home, and then their preference for investment size and the financial instruments. That's what we've done. And then after this, we organized some focus group to get more qualitative insights. So first, the cooperative survey, we addressed to more than 3,000 people, all members of cooperative, or we just direct contact through cooperative. And the first reason that we got is, well, the population there is quite particular. 84% of the people are men, middle or more aged, and they are involved in the cooperative for more than 8 years in average. The people in those cooperatives are willing to invest in future or already existing offshore parks, and that's a good result for us. We see that we have people certainly willing to invest, or probably interested in invest at more than 80%. Which means that with the average money that they could invest in those parks, that if we can activate the 3,000 and more people, then we could already raise more than 9 million euro through them. How do they communicate and receive information from their cooperative. So I have more than 100 slides here, so I will go very quickly through them, but you will get access to all these figures, so I won't go into the detail right now. Concerning the means to get into contact with their cooperative, mainly we see that it's email newsletter. They don't use mainly social network, but it's mainly and can be linked to their pattern because we have more than a lot of people are more aged than the average of the population. What are they interested into? What is their main reason for investing in our cooperative is environmental support and renewable energy. You can see in the following slides that the dividends is an existing factor, but not the major factor for our current cooperator, and we will see later that it's different for the general population. Also, interesting finding is that the people already involved in our cooperative, if we would go into partnership with other actors, 36% find this that could be a possible obstacle to their investment. And among those people, if the cooperative would be in partnership with, for example, a big oil investor or bank, that would be among those 36%, not all the people, that would be problematic. We have done through this result of this survey first segmentation of the cooperant. You will get access to this. I will go now to the population survey. There we focus on, we had 1,000 people participating to this survey, and there is up the interest for the renewable energy and the offshore park is also important, and we see that it's acceptable and even more acceptable than onshore park for a major part of the person that answer our questionnaire, and the North Sea is seen as also a local form of energy. Are they willing to invest into the offshore wind park? There is a difference between this result and the one with our cooperant. There is still a quarter and more than a quarter interested to invest into offshore wind parks through cooperative. The desired amount is quite different. The median for the current cooperator was 1,050. Here we see that the median number is 250 euro investment. And they are interested to invest in the middle period of 2 to 5 years. What are the key factors that could motivate them? We see that there is a slight difference between this population with the current population. The price of the electricity is important, dividend also. But even if our environmental and renewable energy are less important, there is a mix of motivation that could make them invest to cooperative in offshore winds. The barrier is the risk, associated risk, and the possible lack of profitability of those investments. If we compare here the current cooperators and the general population, we see a slight difference in the motivation factors, where the current investors are more invested in environmental and climate aspects, and the potential investors are more eager to see after financial and risk aspects. Concerning the possible target group in the population, we see that men mainly and also young people could be addressed with, like for the corporates, a higher level of education. I go to the focus group now. We conducted several focus groups in Antwerp, Ghent, Liège, and Charleroi, asking them if the product, which is to be co-owner of an offshore wind parks and to get access to this energy, what are their main concerns about this? So we focused on first asking them what are their demands, what are their questions about this, what is the type of information they need. Then the goal they pursue to invest in such a product, what are they looking for, and then the needs, what is the typical information they would need to be able to invest in those products in this park. And concerning the demands, we see that it's the energy concern, a lot of questions about the energy, what, from where, etc., the stable price, the transparency of the product, the risk awareness. Risk is an important aspect, and the trust into the people proposing this project to them. Sustainability is also a question that was raised. The goal that they are pursuing is to get a financial security, the local control and ownership of those parks. Sustainability and climate action is also important for some people, and was also mentioned the community engagement. To address those people, what kind of communication do we have to build? Is a clear and transparent communication. That's very important. To trust, to build the trust into the project, we have also to give them some strong reference, reputation, and the transparency. The affordability and the accessibility to the project is also very important for them, and they need some personal assistance there. The human contact is very important for them. Then we go to the work package communication. There we first analyzed what exists. We did a benchmark and selected the best practice of people, organization doing some crowdfunding or addressing the general population to enter into the project. And we identified the key factor they used and the best practice of those organizations. Then I will go to a test case that we have organized on local scale and the first result that we got from this test case. So the benchmark, we examine the energy sector. I won't go through the detail of those slides. I will just mention them, but you will get access to this later. So what exists in the energy sector, and we also looked at a similar crowdfunding organization. So we have, there is Luminous, for example, Eneco, which are doing some crowdfunding and investing project, the crowd lending to their project. We also got an insight from the North Sea Wind corporate, which at some part of their investment campaign, difficulty to raise the 15 million that was aimed for their campaign, and there are some reasons that we evaluated for their project. And we see, of course, that a lot of big companies are interested into this cooperative model. So you will see this yourself. I won't have the time to go this. We also got some interest into the grammar park in Netherlands, how they did it, which tool they used to activate the population and to give straightforward information to the people and also to activate them with local activities, which is important for the people. You see, involving local people is important for those kind of projects. In Spain, they also conducted some campaigns. It's Some Energia, which is a Rescope member of Rescope EU, and they proposed to invest in several parks and get access to the electricity and a favorable interest on those projects. With some key factor that could came to us. Maywind in the Netherlands also at those campaigns, but also a broad network of more than 12,000 investors. And we can see all the tools that they use, some application for the mobile phone, some very straightforward and transparent information about the risk, for example. And then we got outside of energy sector. We examined the newbie campaign, which was interesting because it's also a cooperative tackling to a very big and very regulatory sector, which is the bank sector. So quite similar to some pattern of the electricity sector. They get to reach out to citizens, making the project credible and feasible. That is something very similar to us, and then to activate the people through several campaigns and several steps into their campaign, involving what we call the bekend mensen in the Netherlands through their 3 campaign stage. You will see this later. Also, some insight from the Van Move bicycle crowdfunding and their main success and the relationship with their customer, which was important for them. Also, the once a week, you will get some info in the copy of the slides. Ringland in Antwerp. What is important for us now is to define the 5 critical factors that we have seen in their campaign going to a success. Is the storytelling, in an inspiring, simple, talkable story to tell to people. The communication, it's important to do it in different stage of the investor journey. As I said, for example, in UB, to create awareness, to convince, to activate. To give them one strong, simple reward, understandable. And there is a kind of sense of urgency necessary to get to the result, and we've seen this also with those campaigns. And the last day, where the day where the large amount of money was raised to those campaign. Here is the summary of those critical factors. And lately, we tested our proposal to a specific system. We got inspiration from the the STEM campagne, la campagne de vote, where you could evaluate through a questionnaire which parties is the most linked to your to what you think is important. And we have done this also with electricity, to see, to ask people through questionnaire which kind of supplier, electricity supplier or electricity cooperative or system to invest into electricity would be closer to them through an application. And we have asked them, we tested 10K value proposition through question, how is it important for you to, and we reflect those key factors into those questions. The results among the 2,000 people responding to this survey is that there is a support for renewable investment. The financial factors are important, but also and mainly social returns is very important for the people, and activating them to select an electricity supplier. The customer satisfaction is very important, and the perceptions of the fair price is something very, very important for them. If we could summarize all the factors and the questionnaire, you see that customer satisfaction, the fair price, and a stable price were the factor more important for those people. Thank you. You will get everything into the PDF and the slides. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. We are at the end of the webinar. The results and the presentations will be available on the websites of the federations, Rescoop Vlaanderen, Rescoop Wallonie, Sea2Socket. I want to thank all the speakers for their presentations and all the participants of this webinar. And I wish you a good day. Bye.